Hey guys, how we doing? One of my nice viewers asked me to explain this router table setup I have here and why I have 3 router heads on it. And I'm going to give the basic explanation before I explain, but if you've ever done any project where you need to make multiple different router passes and you've got your setup all dialed in right and you've only got 1 router head, you'll come to understand why having 3 or more is better, especially if you're building something like raised panel doors. On any project, it happens. You're going to have to come back and duplicate a piece. And being able to leave that setup until you finish with the project is of great help. The other nice reason for having one, instead of just having one roundover bit sitting in a router table all the time, and every time you need to use a different bit you've got to change it. With 3 heads I can leave 3 different bits, and I leave a V-groove in one, a flush trim bit in the other, and a roundover bit in one. I think I might have changed out and put a rabbit bit in last week, I'm not certain, but we'll see here in a minute. But that's my reasoning for having 3 heads on a router table. And in hindsight, and I'm talking years of hindsight here, I'd have built it a little differently. Although if I would have built it a little differently, you'd need to have a lot more spare empty square footage around you than what I have. And I'll show you guys what I mean. Let's take a look at the router table for a minute. Alright guys, underneath the bottom here I have 3 Porter cable variable speed router motor heads. I forget what model they are. They're large. I believe they're 3 horsepower, but they are variable speed and they are Porter cables. And there's 3 of that same motor underneath here, guys. Here's number 1, number 2, and number 3. And all of them are hardwired into a junction box built up under the cabinet so that one power cord can come out that feeds them all. I have a dust port coming into the cabinet, but I've never needed it, and I'll show y'all why. And all the switches for them are wired to the outside. The cabinet itself is just 2 basic boxes. The lower portion being a drawer box cabinet that I built, and then 1 big open box cabinet on top with 6 little bitty doors. These router tables are cast iron. They're from Rockler. They're the only ones I found that made cast iron ones. Keep them polished and nice and clean, and they're solid as a rock. And I don't know if y'all will be able to see it. It might look like just a black line. Yes, it does. But that big black line you see right there underneath the cabinets is a piece of 4" by 4" steel angle iron that's welded together, that these steel tops could sit on top of the box. I wanted it to be movable, so when I built it to fit this Delta tool roller. And this Delta tool roller was actually on a sander that's permanently mounted, so I used it for the router table because I knew I wanted to be able to scoot the router table out of the way. And it has that foot wheel over on this end. Push down on it and push it out of the way for cleanup or whatever I need to. I built a little holder on the outside here to hold my standoff pins. Just thread them in loosely and take them out. Keeps them right where I can get to them and secure in a safe place. All the routers are mounted on these adjustable height motor lifts, so you can adjust the height very easily from the top of the table. Why ain't this thing focusing? Without having to go underneath. And of course you can dial it into whichever height you like. See if I can do that with one hand. Simply with this twist right up top I can make the adjustments. And the lifts that I used are made by Bench Dog. And I won't say they make cheap products, because they don't. I can't say that after using their lifts. They just had the stainless steel top one, and man, it has held up for years and years. Right here in the back you can see where the one plug plugs in. It is a quad outlet. Why not have extra power there if I need it? And the 3 dust ports, one for each router. But guys, I've never used the outside dust ports, and I'll show you why here. Nothing ever gets down there, guys. There's the dirt that was left after those 4 passes. With that 4-inch dust hose connected to it instead of the normal 2-inch, and as you can see, I had to modify it with a couple of wooden blocks. Nothing gets below this router table. Don't even have to dust it off when I'm done with it. And the one 4-inch dust hose has a connector. That's how long it takes to move it from head to head. As convenient as can be for whichever head I'm using. And all the dust hoses go up. My metal dust pipe is hanging down about 7.5 foot, or excuse me, hanging down 6.5 foot from the ceiling, 7.5, 8 feet off the floor, and then from there it goes to metal pipe. And I of course encased them all in oak plywood, make them look pretty. And then the main pipes that go over to the dust collector over there are 8-inch steel pipes, which all run above the ceiling. Down here, all these drawers hold the router bits, and I believe I showed you all this, but since and the trays can be taken out and carried around with you. If you're using a portable router on the other side of the shop and don't want to go back and forth for a bit and so on. But they're all that way. Lift right out. 3 different router locations. As you can see from the left side here, I can stand right in front of it and use the router, move the fence back and set my pin, use it freehand without the fence. From the other end you can see it's the same configuration. I can walk right up to it and very easily use it. With 3 in a row like this, the only one that's a little inconvenient is the middle head, because I can only go straight on here. I'm limited to routing about a 12-foot board right here unless I make a slight adjustment, and by a slight adjustment I mean the angle of the fence. Your fence is sitting straight most of the time with a router, but it doesn't make a hill of beans difference if it's sitting at a bit of an angle too, as long as it's flush. And with it being at that angle right there, I can run a 12-foot board through it. Can y'all see that? Yep. Just that slight twist on the fence, and I can easily run 12 feet through the center. I've said a couple of times if I was ever rebuilding this, I would rebuild it in the triangle where I could walk up to the front of all 3 sides of the router. But the problem with that is I'd need a lot more square footage around it. Look at the distance, the directions, all the different directions the boards would be traveling. By all 3 being in a straight row here, like this, they all travel the same direction. So I guess it's a win-lose scenario. If y'all want to modify your tracks to take the 4-inch like this is just a plastic 4-inch fitting that you can get at Rockler or Woodcrafters or online. The particular angle or pitch doesn't make any difference. It could come out straight just as easy. This one comes out at a 22.5. and the little wooden triangle blocks epoxied into the track, and then the 4-inch port not the kind you drink, Art dock a ship at. The 4-inch port where the hose hooks up, screws right onto it, and of course I glued it too and screwed it. Hey my friends, I hope that gives you some helpful tips on a router table. The two things I like about this router table the most, well I'll say the two. The cast iron tops, rock solid and steady, no vibration of any kind, all that weight, and of course I beefed the table up so it could hold it. The adjustable height lifts for the router, very nice for setting your bit and for being able to bring your bit above the table to change it. That's very convenient, not having to go underneath the router to change the router bit. And of course the oversized dust collection port, as y'all saw, walk right up, use the router, and there's no cleanup. You walk right away from it. It's a great little router table. It's worked wonderful for me for years. I hope you found a couple of good tips in it you could use, buddy. And it was my pleasure explaining it for you. Ask any questions you like about the shop, anything at all, and I promise you I will get to them as fast as I can, and I'll get you an answer. And y'all have a great one, but that's all, folks. Oh, Lordy. What can I say, guys? I stutter. I can't talk straight a little bit sometimes, but I'll get the message through, I promise. Thank you for watching, my friends. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'll answer every one of them, I promise you. I hope I earned a subscription from you, at least a like. Got a lot more to tell you about as fast as I can, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day now. Bye. Hey there, folks. Roberto, would you stop the sanding for a minute? Kill it for a second, buddy. Start over. Which I've been told fits me. That. Oh, I'm having fun. Good to see you. Hey, look at her. There you go. I love playing with the camera. This little baby flew all the way over from Germany and landed with me. Y'all may ask yourself, this ain't my beautiful shop. This ain't my beautiful life. This ain't my beautiful wife. No, I'm just kidding. Take 27. Really, guys, I'm having trouble talking. Of course, I think I normally have trouble talking now that I think about it. I'm too sexy for myself. Too sexy for myself. Too sexy. Camera's on. But you know what I say, right? I'll be back. I promise. Go in my tool museum here. A shop decorated with antique tools. Guess I ought to invite American pickers over, huh? I call it the Doug block because I'm a blockhead, as you probably well know by now. Let me get that in. Hey, I can see that.